Since the privatization of the mines in Zambia almost 30 years ago, there has been speculation of inaccurate reporting of mining declarations, which has fueled a strained relationship between the mining sector and government. For example, during a government state visit to China in 2018, the Zambian delegation became aware of significant quantities of cobalt there. The Chinese company stated that it was sourced from KCM in Zambia. The Zambia Daily Mail reported that cobalt imports by the company were at least $20 million per month. This revelation caught the Zambian delegation by surprise, and efforts were made to verify the cobalt export transactions. This is just one of many examples that persist in the mining industry that deny Zambians of their rightful revenue, which could be utilized to drive sustainable socioeconomic development. Instances of these irregularities are documented extensively in reports such as the United Nations UNACTAD 2020 report titled Tackling Illicit Financial Flows for Sustainable Development in Africa. In this report, it cites that Zambia alone represented 65% of trade misinvoicing in copper, and further cites that it accounted for $14.5 billion during the period 1995 to 2014. Over the next few minutes, we will utilize the reputable United Nations trade data source Comtrade. It records both the reported exports and partner country imports of commodities to illustrate the actual differences. Furthermore, and more importantly, we will elaborate on how driving mining sector accountability will positively impact the lives and welfare of Zambia and Zambians. The United Nations Comtrade data portal records both the reported exports from the originating country and partner imports to the recipient country. The database captures fields such as the commodity, the HS code, quantity, and trade values of the transaction. We will compare the reported exports to imports for specific commodities and trade partners within a refined time period to determine what discrepancies exist, and if so, to what extent. For Zambia, we will focus on China for copper and cobalt, and India for copper during the period 2015 to 2019. It's important to keep in mind that in terms of the major destinations of traditional trade exports, that is the mining commodities, Switzerland is Zambia's largest trading partner, 29%, followed by China, 28%, according to the most recent ZamStats report, volume 220. We begin with China and copper. Between 2015 and 2019, mining companies in Zambia reported 634,000 metric tons of copper exports to China. China reported imports of 1.5 million metric tons. From a percent perspective, the reported Zambian export is only 42%. That's less than half of what China reported as their imports from Zambia. The difference in metric tons is 870,000 metric tons. If today's spot copper price of $9,507 per metric ton was applied the difference of tonnage, it equates to $8.2 billion in unaccounted for trade. Next, we consider cobalt trade. During the same period, 2015 to 2019, Zambia's reported exports to China of cobalt was 418 metric tons. China's reported imports from Zambia were 14,425 metric tons. This is a difference of 14,006 metric tons. If today's cobalt spot price of $52,350 per metric ton was applied the difference of tonnage, it equates to $733 million in unaccounted for trade. Now we focus our attention on India. During the same period, 2015 to 2019, mining companies in Zambia reported exports of 38,000 metric tons of copper to India. India reported copper imports from Zambia of 517,000 metric tons. The difference is 478,000 metric tons. If today's copper spot price of 9,507 metric tons was applied to the difference in tonnage, it equates to $4.5 billion in unaccounted for trade. This is just a minute sample of the trade discrepancies with only 2 countries and 2 commodities, which account for a difference of $13.5 billion over a period of 5 years. It's important to note that in addition to copper and cobalt, Zambia exports other minerals that include, but are not limited to, gold and silver. An operational audit is an audit service which is focused on key processes, procedures, systems, and internal controls. It can identify both areas of improvement and accuracy of reporting. In the mining sector, an operational audit service undertaken on behalf of government can ensure that the government has accurate information on production, exports, and profits of the audited mining companies, which in turn allow the government to collect the royalties and taxes that are actually owed by those companies. It's a live audit happening in real time, on site, auditing the entire life cycle of the mining process. An operational audit audits each step of the mining life cycle. Imported equipment, ensuring the accuracy of expenditure reporting, such as on equipment purchases. Crushing, validating that the quantities of purchased processing items, such as mill balls, is commensurate with the declaration of production, both by type of commodity and quantity. This also applies to leaching, verifying the type and quantity of acids utilized is commensurate with the commodity being processed. Financial accuracy, such as intercompany loans and verified interest rates. Export, ensuring the declaration of all the metals within the commodity that is being exported are accounted for. And finally, environment, ensuring the mine site is in compliance with environmental legislated standards, thus avoiding situations such as the toxic waste conditions in Kabwe. Countries such as Ghana, Zimbabwe, and Tanzania have mandated operational audits and have successfully addressed the irregularities identified. In Tanzania, the government engaged Alex Stewart International, an internationally recognized operational auditor with presence in 40 countries. It is headquartered in Washington, D.C. We investigate the differences of reported exports to imports pre and post the implementation of an operational audit to determine the impact to Tanzania. We compared 2008 to 2017. In 2008, the difference in trade value in US dollars of copper exports from Tanzania versus the China reported import was 194%, meaning China reported importing 194% more than what Tanzania reported exporting. In contrast, in 2017, the difference was 0.75%, meaning China reported importing 0.75% more than what Tanzania reported exporting. This is a minuscule discrepancy of less than 1%. This case study underscores the importance of protecting the non-renewable resources in a country by implementing an operational audit, which in turn allows the government to collect the royalties and taxes actually owed. In summary, an operational audit, which is a live, on-site audit, will address many of the reporting irregularities experienced in the mining sector. Furthermore, once the Zambian government implements an operational audit, the increased mineral revenue could support sustainable socio-economic development in areas such as medicine, education, vocational training, employment creation, economic stimulation, and most importantly, debt and prudent fiscal management, ensuring that Zambia manage its debt and exercise a proactive fiscal policy and prudent monetary policy.